everybody, it's Chill Rosie. Welcome back. We're gonna just jump back into it and keep going. We're gonna just keep going. There's no stop. Just reading for a good while. I might throw in something fun here and there, but just reading for now. We're gonna get into it now. Chapter 1, New World Beginnings, The Conquest of Mexico and Peru. Page 15. Gradually, Europeans realized that the American continents held rich prizes, especially the gold and silver of the advanced Indian civilizations in Mexico and Peru. Spain secured its claim to Columbus's discovery in the Treaty of Tordesillas, dividing with Portugal the heathen lands of the New World. The lion's share went to Spain, but Portugal received compensating territory in Africa and Asia, as well as title to lands that one day would be Brazil. The islands of the Caribbean Sea, the West Indies as they came to be called, and yet another perpetuation of Columbus's geographic confusion, served as offshore bases for staging the Spanish invasion of the mainland Americas. Here supplies could be stored and men and horses could be rested and acclimated. Before proceeding to the conquest of the continents, the loosely organized and vulnerable native communities of the West Indies also provided laboratories for testing the techniques that would eventually subdue the advanced Indian civilizations of Mexico and Peru. The most important such technique was the institution known as the encomienda. It allowed the government to commend or give Indians to certain colonists in return for the promise to try to Christianize them. In all but name, it was slavery. Spanish missionary Bartolomé de Las Casas, appalled by the encomienda system in Hispaniola, called it a moral pestilence invented by Satan. In 1519, Hernan Cortez set sail from Cuba with 16 fresh horses and several hundred men aboard 11 ships, bound for Mexico and for destiny. On the island of Cozumel, off the Yucatan Peninsula, he rescued a Spanish castaway who had been enslaved for several years by the Mayan-speaking Indians. A short distance farther on, he picked up the female Indian slave Malinche. I'm pronouncing it Malinche. Who knew both Mayan and Nahuatl, the language of the powerful Aztec rulers of the great empire in the highlands of central Mexico. In addition to his superior firepower, Cortez now had the advantage, through these two interpreters, of understanding the speech of the native peoples whom he was about to encounter, including the Aztecs. Malinche eventually learned Spanish and was baptized with the Spanish name of Dona Marina. Near present-day Veracruz, Cortez made his final landfall. Through his interpreters, he learned of unrest within the Aztec Empire among the peoples from whom the Aztecs demanded tribute. He also heard alluring tales of the gold and other wealth stored up in the legendary Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. He lusted to tear open the coffers of the Aztec kingdom to quell his mutinous troops. He boldly burned his ships, cutting off any hope of retreat. Gathering a force of some 20,000 Indian allies, he marched on Tenochtitlan and toward one of history's most dramatic and fateful encounters. As Cortez proceeded, the Aztec chieftain Moctezuma sent ambassadors bearing fabulous gifts to welcome the approaching Spaniards. These only whetted the conquistadors' appetite. "We Spanish suffer from a strange disease of the heart," Cortez allegedly informed the emissaries, "for which the only known remedy is gold." The ambassadors reported this comment to Moctezuma, along with the astonishing fact that the newcomers rode on the backs of horses. The superstitious Moctezuma also believed that Cortez was the god. I'm gonna mess this up. Quetzalcoatl, whose return from the eastern sea was predicted in Aztec legends. Expectant yet apprehensive, Moctezuma allowed the conquistadors to approach his capital unopposed. As the Spaniards entered the Valley of Mexico, the sight of the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan amazed them. With 300,000 inhabitants spread over 10 square miles, it rivaled in size and pomp any size in contemporary Europe. The Aztec metropolis rose from an island in the center of a lake, surrounded by floating gardens of extraordinary beauty. It was connected to the mainland by a series of causeways and supplied with fresh water by an artfully designed aqueduct. Moctezuma treated Cortés hospitably at first, but soon the Spaniards' hunger for gold and power exhausted their welcome. They thirsted mightily for gold. They stuffed themselves with it. They starved for it. They lusted for it like pigs, said one Aztec. On the Noche Triste, sad night, of June 30th, 1520, the Aztecs attacked, driving the Spanish down the causeways from Tenochtitlan in a frantic, bloody retreat. Cortés then laid siege to the city, and it capitulated on August 13th, 1521. That same year, a smallpox epidemic burned through the Valley of Mexico. The combination of conquest and disease took a grisly toll. The Aztec Empire gave way to 3 centuries of Spanish rule. The temples of Tenochtitlan were destroyed to make way for the Christian cathedrals of Mexico City, built on the site of the ruined Indian capital, and the native population of the Mexico, winnowed mercilessly by the invaders' disease, shrank from some 20 million to 2 million people in less than a century. Shortly thereafter, in South America, the iron-fisted conqueror Francisco Pizarro crushed the Incas of Peru in 1532 and added a huge hoard of booty to Spanish coffers. By 1600, Spain was swimming in New World silver, mostly from the fabulously rich mines in Potosi in present-day Bolivia, as well as from Mexico. This flood of precious metals touched off a price revolution in Europe that increased consumer costs by as much as 500% in the 100 years after the mid-16th century. Some scholars see in this ballooning European money supply the fuel that fed the growth of the economic system known as capitalism. Certainly, New World bullion helped transform the world economy. It filled the vaults of bankers from Spain to Italy, laying the foundations of the modern banking system. It clinked in the purses of merchants in France and Holland, stimulating the spread of commerce and manufacturing. And it paid for much of the burgeoning international trade with Asia, whose sellers had little use for any European good except silver. Yet the invaders brought more than conquest and death. They brought crops and animals, language and laws, customs and religions, all of which proved adaptable to the peoples of the Americas, especially Mexico. They intermarried with the surviving Indians, creating a distinctive culture of mestizos, people of mixed Indian-European heritage. To this day, Mexico remains a unique blend of the Old World and the New, producing both ambivalence and pride among its people. Cortez's translator, Malinche, for example, has given her name to the Mexican language in the word Manlichista, or traitor. But Mexicans also celebrate Columbus Day as the Dia de la Raza, the birthday of a wholly new race of people. That's the end of that part. It ended on page 19. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.